Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends. Welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. As always, we're going to look at the cards that are hot and cold currently, as of today anyway, in Modern and Standard. So there's a lot going on between Standard getting Oath injected into the format and really seeing a new Standard evolve over the last few weeks, as well as Modern, which not only are we going into Modern season, people are excited about the format. There's a Pro Tour coming up very soon that'll be Modern, but also we saw the banning of a couple major cards that have forced players to go out there and rethink their deck strategies and perhaps purchase some more cards. So both markets are hopping right now. The Modern market, especially volatile. We'll talk more about that in just a few moments, but let's start off with Standard. Let's look at the top 5 cards in Standard that lost value this week. And you're going to notice, if you watch last week's video, 4 out of 5 of them are actually the same. Coming in number 5 is Linvala the Preserver. She lost $1.47, bringing her down to $3.99. Thought Not Seer. This lost $1.75, bringing it down to $12.64. Now, this card actually saw a ton of play in the first weekend of competitive Standard, and this will continue to see a lot of play. This is a very good card. The reason it's gone down this week is just because it is a rare, it's not a mythic, and more packs are being opened, and it had kind of a hefty price tag, especially over the last couple weeks. So this will stabilize a little bit. Expect this to go down slightly more, but once this gets down to $10, $11, you may want to start thinking about picking up your play sets. This will be a heavily played card. Number 3 is Nissa, Voice of Zendikar. She lost $2.43, bringing her down to $14.94. Number 2 is Kozilek the Great Distortion, losing $2.82 to $14.50. It's another card that's still seeing play, but it's more of a one-of. Ulamog is still the card that's seeing more play than this one, but it is a mythic, and if there's some players out there looking for a one-of for their decks, they should retain at least some value, but keep an eye on this. It'll probably go down a little bit lower. And finally, coming in at number 1 is Kozilek's Return, losing $3.89, bringing it down to $15.87. Here's another card that may lose a little more ground before it starts going up again, but I think it will see a lot of Standard play going forward. So you might want to pick up your play sets. If you can find these at maybe the $10 to $12 range within a week or two, it could be a good investment for you. Alright, let's look at the top 5 Standard cards that have gained value this week. And coming out of the first weekend of competitive play with the Star City Games open, we're starting to see some cards that maybe people didn't expect to be as good as they were hit this list, and you're going to start seeing some cards starting to climb. Coming in at number 5 is an exception to that. It's Monastery Mentor. This is a card that sees play in other formats as well, but this went up $1.32 to $22.49. Number 4 is Jace. Hey, Jace is back again. Of course, Jace continues to see tons of play in Standard. He's a powerhouse there, seeing some play in other formats as well, but he's gone up $1.96 this week to $66.72. Worldbreaker. Now, this is a card that saw a little more play than maybe was expected this past weekend. Went up $2.06 to $10.99. Number 2, Kolaghan's Command, continues to be strong. This has gone up $2.36 to $17.88. And number 1 is Kalitis, Trader of Get, going up $3.75 to $10.78. Now, decks weren't necessarily running 4 of this, but you were seeing some 1-ofs, 2-ofs, some sideboard play. This card saw more play than I think a lot of people expected, even though it wasn't a centerpiece of a deck or anything. Players are still kind of scrambling now to get their hands on at least 1 or 2 copies of this. So let's move on to Modern. Now, Modern has been very volatile recently, and we know, of course, we're in Modern season. There's a lot of excitement around Modern, and with the bannings, people are trying to pick up some new cards. At the same time, there's tons of speculation going on right now in the Modern market. Sometimes these are buyouts from 1 or 2 individuals just trying to get all the copies of a card that appears in a deck list that did well that particular weekend, and it's an affordable card, so they just try to get a bunch of copies of it, which drives the price up quite a bit. Also, there's just some random small speculation going out there. A lot of different people speculating on a certain card, and it gains value. Unfortunately, that type of gain usually does not last. Although the card might not go down to where it was prior to the speculation, it will not necessarily stay up at the levels that you're seeing it at. So be very cautious right now when purchasing cards. I'll try to point those out to you as we go through the top 5 lists. And let's look at the top 5 cards that lost value this week. So you're going to see a hodgepodge here of cards that are both naturally stabilizing and cards that are coming off of a big speculation over the past couple weeks. Number 5 is Mind Slicer. This in particular is the 9th edition version. It lost $2.36, bringing it down to $5.10. Now, this was a card that was a victim of speculation over the past week and is starting to come back down. Next is Scalding Tarn, losing $3.34, bringing it down to $95.57. This is natural stabilization. It spiked a little bit just because it's a very popular card, went over $100 and starting to just come down slightly. The danger with these enemy color fetch lands, though, however, is we know at some point they're going to be reprinted. We just don't know when, so these are a very shaky investment. Number 3 is Glimmer Void. This is the Modern Masters version. Lost $3.88, bringing it down to $40.08. Now, Affinity did quite well this past weekend at the Star City Games Modern Classic. There were 2 versions in the top 8, so Glimmer Void's not going anywhere. This is just normal stabilization. Number 2 is Escape Shift, and this did lose $4.10 this week, bringing it down to $44.43. And finally, Sen Triplets lost $6.19, bringing it down to $25. It's another card that was heavily speculated on a couple weeks ago, right after the Splinter Twin Summer Bloom bannings were announced. Didn't really pan out this first weekend, so it's already seeing a significant decline. All right, let's look at the top 5 cards that gained value this week, and I think you're going to see more of the same, but mostly cards that are legitimately gaining value, at least one case that appears to be some heavy speculation. Number 5 is Grove of the Burn Willows. It's gone up $2.79, bringing it up to $85. This has increased a lot in the last month or two since we got closer to Modern Season. It's a good card, it sees a lot of play, and it is still a very rare card coming from Future Sight at this point. Number 4, Goblin Guide, up $3 to $41.70. This will continue to climb until we see a reprint. We just don't know when that's going to happen at this point, maybe in a future Modern Masters, but who knows. Number 3 is Inkmoth Nexus, going up $5.73 to $38.99. Now, this is a card that is very coveted by players in 2 major decks, the Affinity deck and the Infect deck. So because of this, it's going to see a pretty decent value increase over time. Number 2 is Horizon Canopy, going up $11.19 to $78.47. This is kind of the sister card of Grove of the Burn Willows. They're both in the same set, both the same rarity, and they tend to move together in their pricing. So as that one went up, this one's going up now. I think gone are the days that you can pick those 2 cards up for $50 to $60. I think these are now going to be in the $70 to $80 range for quite some time. Finally, number 1 is Past in Flames. Now, this one feels more like heavy speculation, perhaps a buyout. It increased $13.44 this week, bringing it to $19.49. Perfect candidate for a buyout. It's a card that is part of a deck, the Storm deck. It wasn't very expensive, so speculators can go out there and get large quantities of them. And unfortunately, that artificially inflates the price, so be very, very wary about this card. If you're planning on picking up Past in Flames, you may want to wait a week or 2 and see what happens. The bottom line is Storm deck didn't come out of the Star City Games Classic this past weekend burning up the place or anything like that. There are no Storm decks in the top 15. I'm not really sure how many were in the field. I didn't see any that were in print coverage or anything like that, so it's not like this card had a good showing or anything necessarily. It's just being speculated on right now, so be very careful. So having said that, hey, that's the Market Watch for this week. It gets crazy. I feel like I could probably do one of these a day and not be able to keep up with what's been going on. But as always, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe, and have a great day.
Hey, thanks as always for watching. This video, like all my videos, was made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Even a donation of $1 helps me to keep growing this community and creating better quality videos for all of you. Check out our Patreon page for exclusive giveaways and future goals for the channel. If you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of the MTG news, spoilers, set reviews, product openings, or finance videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a good day.